everybody. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to All Day Live. It's noon. I'm Amy Hawkert. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. We have a lot to get to in the next couple of hours. There's a lot going on, some live events that we want to bring you to as well. The Metro really sort of grinding to a slow roll, maybe even a complete stop in some cases. There's one part, this dangerously cold weather, one part, this big call to action today, protesting a rally to end the immigration enforcement in Minnesota. So we'll talk to our Rob Olson, who's covering that for us today, the impact piece. Also, Jared Piepenberg is here. He's going to walk us through the next 24 hours for sure, and then the rest of the weekend. What do we need to know? Spoiler alert, it's not going to warm up very much, but he'll join us here in just a minute. And this is, though, the kind of weather that fuels some winter sports enthusiasts. So Hockey Day in Minnesota is still happening this weekend. We're going to talk with an organizer, find out what's in store, what they're doing to keep people safe and warm. And then next hour, we're also going to talk with Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage MN. He follows the Timberwolves, among other things. We have a lot of questions. My fellow Wolves fans out there, we have a lot of questions. Is this team in a free fall? We'll ask Andrew, see what he thinks. All right, let's start though with the weather. We are in the thick of it. Everybody, dangerous cold. Wind chills this morning, 40 to 50 below zero is what some of you woke up to. So where do things stand right now? That sun is shining, but can't imagine it's doing much for us. Meteorologist Jared Piepenberg is here. Jared, we just keep shaking our head and going, well, okay, here we go.
Yep, that's kind of how today's going here. Our warm-up now, we're at 14 below zero last I checked. So during our morning show, it starts at 4:30. We were hovering anywhere from 20 below to 21 below during that time frame from 4:30 to 9 a.m. It really didn't change much. And now we're trying to climb out of that, but it's still very, very cold. No, we just gained another 2 degrees. Because during our 11 a.m. show, we're at 14 below, now at 12 below. So we're making some progress. It isn't much though. It's going to be really cold all day long. And look at just this little west wind at 7 miles per hour brings that wind chill down to 27 below zero. So it's still extremely cold out there. 20s, 30s, some 40s below zero is what it feels like outside at the moment. As we head throughout the next few hours or so into the evening, still expecting 20s and 30s below to be the majority of our feels like temperature. So the warm-up's really not happening out there. It's nice to see some sunshine, but it's not really helping us out with the cold air that's sitting on top of us. Tomorrow, we wake up to 20s and 30s below. There's not going to be much wind, so it's just maybe 5-mile-an-hour wind brings those wind chills down to those 20s to 30s below zero. It won't be as cold as it was this morning, but it's still going to be a really, really frigid day for your Saturday. And then tomorrow afternoon, not a whole lot of help. We'll still feel like some teens below zero into tomorrow. So just kind of recapping that, just a frigid, kind of breezy day. Normally, I wouldn't say today's a breezy one, but when it's this cold, any bit of air movement ends up being a breeze. 9 below is what we're going for. We'll see if we make it there. 9 below for the high temperature today. Feeling like 25 below at the warmest part. Tonight, staying frigid, 15 below, but there's not much wind, so this will probably feel like some 20s below zero still. And then tomorrow, we try to climb up to the donut, but I think we'll stay a penny below for the high, feeling like 11 below in the afternoon. Not much wind for the Twin Cities and the majority of the state on Saturday, which will be welcome. Only around 5 to maybe up to 10 miles per hour out of the south for us. In some places, we'll have some calm air. Sunday winds switch to the north. They stay pretty light. We'll finally climb up above zero, but it's not by much. We may make it up to around 5 in the afternoon Sunday. So just brace yourself for a cold weekend. I'll highlight more of this and just a general cold forecast that's coming up. Even into our work week, it looks pretty chilly for the days to come. Yeah,
not to mention everything that's going on, to the south of us too. A lot of eyes on that. It could affect travel from MSP. So we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks. We'll talk to you a little bit later, Jared. Appreciate it. Also today, some of the big news that we're following, of course, this is being called the 23rd today, a day of truth and freedom, a day of prayer and fasting, or Ice Out Minnesota. These calls for action also might affect your plans today. Our Rob Olson is covering this for us, and we know about some of the logistics of what might happen, Rob, but we don't know exactly what the turnout's going to be, and that kind of thing. Do we have Rob? See right there we go. Hey, Rob. So yeah, we kind of know the structure, but a lot of kind of unknowns here, especially with given the weather and everything.
Yeah, and this was announced 10 days ago, and obviously, when you're planning something 10 days out this time of year, you never know how it's going to turn out. I mean, ask the organizers of Hockey Day Minnesota, right? I mean, and Pond Hockey Championships, et cetera. So this was planned initially is an outdoor rally in March to begin at the Commons outside US Bank Stadium. Initially, it was going to be then a march that would come back to the Commons, that park area there. That was changed due to the weather, that they will still meet at the Commons at 2 p.m. And I'll be heading up that way just after this. And then we'll march to Target Center. It is a ticketed event. There were some concerns I read about, Amy, on line on Reddit about, why do we have to, supply information to be ticketed? How is our data going to be used? But the organizers explaining it's got to be ticketed because, there's a capacity of Target Center. They need to know how many people are going to be there and how many people they, at some point say this is too many. So that's why it's a ticketed event. Unclear how many people have signed up for tickets, or how many people may just show up for the rally at Target Center, which is set for 3, or will go to the Commons for the 2 p.m. march, because that's, even though it's just across downtown, that's going to be very uncomfortable and potentially, hazardous, depending on how you're dressed for that. But certainly people will do that. But yes, this will follow, with this rally at Target Center with a number of speakers planned. Again, this was announced 10 days ago, is an action by faith leaders supported by some unions and some community groups to call for, this sort of economic shutdown today is a form of protest. And, we've seen hundreds of businesses on lists compiled that will be closed today, many of them just sort of around Minneapolis-St. Paul and then some of the suburbs and exurb areas. Dozens more that we've seen that will be open, but donating part or all of their proceeds today to various groups, whether it be Minnesota, the immigrant rights action committees, or the immigrant law centers, or food shelves, or other local charities that they'll be donating proceeds today. But so we'll see what this impact will be. We'll see what the turnout will be. But certainly, despite the weather, there's a lot of very strong feelings out there. I would anticipate a pretty fair number of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of unknowns here. So if folks do want to go, they need to know it's starting at the Commons Park at 2 p.m. Then the march to Target Center, and again, it's the same rules if you were going to a Wolves game or a Lynx game, or don't bring a big bag. Don't, all of these things you need to know about, or you won't be able to get in because I'm clearly, one of the things I'm wondering, and I know you have not had a chance probably to dig into this, and I don't know that we would get answers, but I'm very curious, Rob, about Target, sort of the collaboration here with Target Center. We know Target Corp has been under fire by some of these groups. We know that there was a sit-in about a week and a half ago by some faith leaders sort of demanding that Target take a stance on this. So I wonder what because I think the plans changed, didn't they? The rally piece at Target Center, I think, was kind of later in the game.
Yeah, that was the part that was changed, because originally the rally would have been also at Commons after a march, and then back at the Commons. So this Target Center was added because of the weather. I did see some of those people raising those questions on online forums too, and other people pointing out that Target doesn't own Target Center. The city does. Target pays for the naming rights of the building, and so the building has no other connection to Target other than they pay a fee to put their name on it. It is not a Target facility otherwise. So, trying to, again, people in these forums trying to let people know, that, if you have feelings about Target, not making any sort of statements or taking a position on this, it's not their building. It just has their name on it, because they paid for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important clarification for a lot of folks. So we'll keep an eye on it. And again, things not scheduled to really get started here for a couple of hours, but we'll bring that to folks live. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're headed out there, just everything covered.
Yeah, wear everything you own.
Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes. We're talking frostbite in 5 to 10 minutes. So, all right, Rob, thanks for checking in. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Appreciate it.
Sounds good.
Okay, see you in a bit. We do want to show you also some video. We were listening in on a press conference with federal officials today, and one of them in real time was being given information about something that was happening outside the federal Whipple building. So, Amber, kind of went and tried to get some video here. So this is what we were seeing just a couple of hours ago. Protesters have been out there in the elements as they have for the last couple of weeks. Obviously today, yesterday, much colder. Looks like they're now kind of holding signs, shields, these barriers, sheet metal. The federal building is by Fort Snelling in Minneapolis. It's really been ground zero for pretty consistent protesting since Operation Metro Surge started at the end of November. But this is something we haven't really seen much of before. They even kind of called it out in the federal officials in the press conference today and said that these folks were holding the shields. And we don't have any word of anything getting out of hand or any kind of interfacing with the agents at all. But that's what we're seeing here at the Whipple building this morning. Also, a lot going on that we wanted to run through for you. A couple of hours ago out at MSP, if you happen to be out there or heard, there was a rally. There's a group gathering out there calling on airlines to speak out against immigration enforcement in Minnesota. So I believe we have a look at this. This was, again, just a couple of hours ago. And faith leaders, community members specifically say they're calling on Delta, which has a major hub here, and Signature Aviation to take a stand. They say Signature provides logistical support for ICE operations. And according to their numbers, these groups say that about 2,000 people have been deported through MSP, and they also claim that some MSP employees have been detained by ICE as well. Delta did email customers flying out today, gave them a heads up that this protest would be happening, said it would likely take a little bit longer to make it through check-in and security. So definitely continuing to ask people if you are flying out, early this afternoon, maybe even later. We're not sure how long the protests will last or the rally will last. At least 3 hours is what they're asking at the airport. Take public transportation even, they're saying. We know we were checking this morning on Fox 9 Morning News. They kept checking delays and cancellations. And of course, we have the winter storm to the south, which hasn't really started up yet. We have our cold weather here, and then we have the rally outside of the airport. So just be aware that there could be some unpredictable time delays for you if you're headed out there. Okay, so we also heard this morning from federal officials. It seems like they've been giving a pretty consistent briefing, at least the last 3-4 days or so. We have heard from these officials who have been on the ground during Operation Metro Surge, including Border Patrol Commander at Large Greg Bovino, another top ICE official also just giving an update. They talked today about the arrests that they've made in the last 24 hours. They also gave updates on the arrests that were made in relation to the protests in the church in St. Paul on Sunday, as well as that 5-year-old boy and his father who are currently, they say, at a family residential center. So here's the very latest from federal officials.
When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center.
All right, and those family residential centers, according to the federal officials, is the least restrictive. He said they have medical care and educational resources, things like that. So that's the very latest on that story that many of you have been following with the 5-year-old and his father. Also today we are following a new story that's come to light. We're working to learn more about a 2-year-old girl in ICE custody. So this is according to federal court filings. She was apparently detained by ICE on Thursday along with her father during a traffic stop. Well, this morning, Paul Bloom found that attorneys filed for an emergency release of the father and the daughter, citing asylum claims and also warrantless arrest. So the judge, it sounds like, has now ordered the toddler be released to her mother by 9:30 tonight. The family's attorney's been given parental authority now to pick her up and return the toddler to her mother. Again, Paul Bloom following this for us today. We don't have any comments from federal officials yet, but we're continuing to learn more, and we'll let you know if there are any developments here in the next couple of hours. And then, of course, we'll have more with Paul later. One more thing here before we take a break. The flashpoint for a lot of the protests this month, of course, Renee Good's death. She was shot and killed by an ICE officer in South Minneapolis. It was a few weeks ago now. Well, Department of Homeland Security says that the federal agent shot in self-defense, saying Good's vehicle was being used as a weapon. Renee Good's supporters believe she was trying to leave that scene. That's kind of where we've left things. Now the autopsy report is out. So just a little bit of information here. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner says that 37-year-old Renee Good died from multiple gunshot wounds, therefore ruling it homicide. Important to note, homicide, is defined as a death that occurs at the hands of another person. It does not necessarily mean that person died from a criminal act, but that's the very latest that we have on the autopsy report. Okay, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, a lot more to talk about, especially with this weather. So many things shut down, closed because it's so cold. Some of you are maybe home today because of it, school or work. But there are some folks out at Highland Hills who are just out there, and they're just loving it, and hopefully they are dressed so warmly, and I'd be willing to bet one of those people is maybe my kid. I'm not sure, but I am too afraid to ask. I'm too afraid to text my husband and say, did you let him go? Highland Hills, Lauren Andrego is there. We're going to check in with her live, where there's some very hardy folks hitting the slopes.
today.
Welcome back to All Day Live. That is a live look at Highland Hills in Bloomington. Your eyes are not deceiving you. There are some folks out there, hardy Minnesotans, who said, you know what? I don't have school today. I don't have work today. I'm going to go hit the slopes. Our Lauren Andrago, we had to send you out there and find out, who are these people and are they dressed properly, Lauren?
Yes, that is a great point. And Amy, I love that you brought up that high school is out, because that seems to be the trend here. Take a look at this. This has been really fun to watch today. Highland Hills ski area, one of my favorite chalets I've ever been to in the state. And you see that tow rope that people are dragging themselves up the hill by just hanging on to that rope up there. Apparently that is very unique to the Highland Hills area and is part of what makes this place so special to so many competitive skiers and snowboarders. I met one of them. His name is Seamus. He is a senior at Chanhassen High School, which is out for the day. So he brought his brother, some friends, and you guys are hitting the slopes today. You've said, Seamus, that it's been pretty good so far today.
Yeah.
Tell me about what the snow is like out there.
The snow is super good. They just groomed it last night, so the cold kind of keeps it all packed together, and it's been a super good day so far.
You said the key here is bundling up, so tell me how you prepared to hit the slopes.
So I have a sweatshirt under my jacket, and then I've got sweatpants under my snow pants, and then like compression socks to keep my feet warm.
Wow. What is, you were telling me some of the big mistakes you think people make when they hit the slopes or go skiing and snowboarding. What are those?
I think wool socks are definitely a big one, because that will like make your feet like sweaty, and once you get outside, like the sweat will just freeze and it'll make your feet more cold than they would be if you like wore like compression socks.
There you go.
I think compression's definitely the way to go, just all around.
You heard it here first. Wool socks, they sound warm, but maybe not the best idea when you're doing something active. You said you've been counting. This is your 47th day skiing this season. Seamus is a lifelong skier. Highland Hills is a place that you love going. What are the temperatures like out there today? Because I'm going to be honest, just walking from the parking lot to the chalet was kind of miserable.
Yeah, it's definitely cold. If you dress for it, it's you can definitely handle it, but it's cold, and it's nice that there's no wind, because the wind definitely makes it worse, but it's still really cool.
It is that wind that can bite you, really.
Yeah.
What do you love about Highland Hills? I mean, especially on a day like today where you said it's very empty compared to a normal Friday.
My favorite thing about Highland Hills is, like you said, the rope tows are just like amazing. You can get so many laps in like such a short amount of time, especially when it's empty like today. Like the whole hill's open to you. You can pretty much do whatever you want and try a ton of new tricks. So I think the progression at Highland Hills for tricks and stuff is my favorite part.
I love it. I love your sense of optimism, because let me tell you, Seamus, I was trying to find an outdoor spot where people were hanging out today.
Yeah.
This might be the only place in the Twin Cities where you see people with smiling faces, spending multiple hours outside. You said you already have 2 hours under your belt today.
Yep.
How much more do you have in you?
Probably 2 or 3 more, I think. I think we're just going to try to go as long as we can and take advantage of the nice day.
Oh my gosh. Well, good luck to you out there. Good luck to all of you boys. Thanks for waiting around in the chalet with me. Have so much fun. Good luck with the rest of senior year.
Thank you.
All right. That is just an example of a brave Minnesotan, Seamus from Chanhassen High School. I'm having so much fun here. Amy, just hanging out in the chalet where it's warm. I do know that Highland Hills is one of the only ski hills around the Twin Cities that's open today. They say they will stay open unless wind chills fall below -35. Okay. So we're still in the safety zone there, all things considered. But yeah, bundle up. 3 layers. 1 insulated layer is the key now that we're at these sub-zero temperatures if you're headed outside.
Maybe not the wool socks, I think we've been there.
I guess not.
Right, when you're super active and sweaty, but all right. Well, thanks.
And then you break a sweat and then it freezes.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get it.
Thanks for checking in. It looks cozy there. Stay warm. We'll see you soon.
You too.
Okay,
Thank you,
Lauren. And yeah, Lauren said it. There are some other ski hills that did shut down. Afton Alps is closed today. Buck Hill is closed today, and then they have limited hours throughout the weekend. So definitely check their Facebook page or their website. Trollhagen in Dresser, Wisconsin, also closed today. They were considering closing tomorrow as well, but they just posted this morning that they will in fact be open tomorrow. Limited hours though, no tubing at Trollhagen tomorrow. Checking in on Lutsen as well. They've actually been closed since yesterday, and then tomorrow skiers should expect a delayed, even a rolling open. You can check out their website for more information as well. And then a couple of other things here. The Kite Festival, the annual Kite Festival has been canceled due to weather on Lake Harriet. The pond hockey, so we know the championships also canceled today. Sorry to just be the bearer of such bad news here, but I know pond hockey championships are a really, really big deal for a lot of people. This is really important to mention as well, and this is a temporary, looks like 1-day closure in Duluth. Second Harvest Northland Food Shelf is closed today in Duluth. We understand it's weather related. Be back open tomorrow, but you need to know that if you're in that area. But most other food shelves around the state do still appear to be open. I want to check in with Amber really quickly because she was just letting me know that she had some developing news that you wanted to let us know about.
Yeah, Amy, we just got word that there were 100 arrests at MSP this morning. You'll remember there were a number of people out this morning at MSP protesting immigration operations across Minnesota, but also at the airport this morning. They say that some 2,000 approximately people have been deported through MSP since ICE operations really began in full force. So again, the people organizing this protest just emailed us and told us that 100 Minnesota clergy were arrested this morning while they were out here protesting. They're saying that they were arrested by members of the airport and Bloomington police.
Okay.
We are having our team reach out to the airport and Bloomington police to confirm this on their end as well, because we're getting word of these arrests from the people who organized this protest. It began around, I want to say it was approximately 10 a.m. this morning. Yep. Brutally cold temperatures out there, and you can see, Amy, it was quite busy. The airport and Delta Airlines specifically had kind of been preparing for this and asking people who were planning to fly out of the airport this morning and early this afternoon to arrive early, even 3 hours at least early to get to the airport if you were flying out, and even take public transportation so you didn't have to go up to that. I mean, it looked like the departures area would presumably be very, very busy. So if you're able to take the light rail or something like that. But again, this just coming in here, I'm just reading this email. Airport police and Bloomington police apparently arresting about 100 Minnesota clergy at the airport this morning while they were out there protesting ICE.
Okay. And then also, as long as I've got you, I am also seeing Hennepin County Sheriff, looks like they put out on social media just afternoon, so about 20 minutes ago. It says Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies and members of multiple assisting agencies have given dispersal orders for an unlawful protest at the Whipple building. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours and have made several attempts to ask protesters, and then it kind of continues here. So we had talked about the fact that when Greg Bavino and one of the top ICE officials were giving their press conference, their update this morning, they were being given information in real time, and we were seeing them being told that there was something happening outside the Whipple building. So you were able to get in contact with the folks who had a camera out there, and we did get a little bit of video.
I'm going to try to bring that in here to remind people of what it looked like out there, because I was watching this protest for checking it in frequently throughout the morning, and I wasn't seeing anything too confrontational. I've seen it get much more tense at other points while protesters have been out there. Again, we've seen protesters out at Whipple just about every day. And I was kind of wondering, I've been watching the camera, it's still out in the vicinity, Amy, but they have left the protest line, our live camera has. So this is what it looked like earlier today. I was pointing out, we had heard through that ICE presser that they were out there with, they called it barricades, I believe. So you can see what appears to be sheet metal, and then possibly like big plastic barrels that they appear to be using as shields, and maybe some plywood there as well. So, but it just, You know, we've seen the protesters there clash with the agents at the front of the entrance to Whipple, and I could have missed it, but
yeah, I was going to say, so the timeline here I think is important, and I don't have an exact timeline, but when we were listening to the federal officials speaking, that was at about 10:15, and then that video is after that. I don't know exactly how much longer after that, but I think this might help shed some light too. So the second part, I have the second part of the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office's statement that they put out on social media. So again, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies, members of multiple assisting agencies, gave dispersal orders for unlawful protests at the Whipple building. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours, and this was sent out at noon. So that would have been like around that time, 9, 10, 11, 12. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours, made several attempts to ask protesters to unblock an access road. It says the group was clear, meaning I think the local law enforcement was clear that they, oh no, sorry, let me go back. Let me not assume anything. So it continues to say the group was clear that they will not unblock the road. Deputies have explained what will happen if they do not comply with the lawful orders. We've given them time to move. There have been ice chunks thrown at multiple vehicles, breaking windows. Deputies have given 3 dispersal orders for an unlawful protest. Individuals who do not comply with orders and those who continue unlawful behavior have been and will continue to be arrested. Please avoid the area. So again, that just came out about 30 minutes ago from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, and we'll continue to follow that.
I am wondering, Amy, our live camera out there, the shot is... It's still up, but it's not showing the protest line. The photojournalist appears to have moved inside of their vehicle away from that front line area there.
Sure. So probably to warm up, I'm imagining, right?
Up, and if they were given the dispersal order at least half an hour ago now, maybe it has since dispersed.
Maybe that's why we're not seeing much there. But yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on that and see what's happened. You know, again, I think people, it can be very confusing as to the different agencies and who's doing what and who comes in at what point, and it really is up to these specific agencies. We know in the city of Minneapolis, for instance, separation ordinance, and there's still, I think, a gray area for some people around, well, if an ICE agent, for instance, were to be injured, would a local police would the police officers come in and help? According to the federal government, that hasn't been happening, but it's really up to the different cities. Hennepin County Sheriff here saying that yes, we've had deputies on the ground giving dispersal orders, other assisting agencies. So we'll continue to follow that and let folks know. Of course, part of this bigger day, a day of truth and freedom, an ICE out day. So different groups are calling it kind of different things, but essentially hoping to have an economic blackout, an impact here to protest the presence of ICE here in Minnesota.
As part of that, Amy, there is a rally that is just now beginning outside of the Hennepin County Medical Center.
Okay.
Coming out here to demand that ICE gets out of our hospitals and gets the hell out of the state of Minnesota. Hospital workers across this city have seen the damage that ICE has inflicted on this community. They are in our hospitals. They are interfering with patient care. Patients are afraid to go to their primary care appointments because of ICE. They are going without medication. There are pregnancies that are risky where women are going into labor at home alone because of ICE. This is an entirely preventable public health crisis that is caused by ICE. In order to fix this, we have to work together. Our leaders have to work together. We need our elected officials, hospital administrators, business leaders from across the state to work together, to communicate, to collaborate, to rid our community of this disease. Today, we are exercising our power, our union power. And we are coming together with people across the state and the labor movement to demand an end to this nightmare. Our first speaker today is Ava, who is a physician in Minneapolis. Ava.
Hey.
Everyone give it up for Ava.
Hey everybody, my name's Avalon. I am a resident physician in Minnesota, and I'm proudly here today to announce that we demand that ICE leave Minnesota and leave our hospitals. ICE's occupation of Minnesota has created unsustainable working conditions for doctors and healthcare workers alike. Our patients are terrified to come into our clinics and to come into our hospitals. They are not getting their medications. They are not getting their treatments. And what's worse is when they're here, they're seeing patients detained and shackled to their beds. ICE is invading our daycares, our sacred places of home, of our hospitals, our gathering spaces. They must leave Minnesota. They're destroying our community.
Yes. Get out.
I want to share that I am a native Minnesotan. I grew up in Minneapolis, and the running joke at my medical school was I was that Minnesota girl because I was going to come home and practice medicine here. I love Minnesota, and it is breaking my heart to see us terrorized by ICE. Their brutality is unmatched, and I cannot stand to witness my patients being violently brutalized by ICE on the streets and outside of our hospitals. We demand that ICE leave Minnesota and leave every hospital here for the safety of our community and our patients. Harkening back to the Union State that is Minnesota, back to the general strike of 1934 and to the murder of... We know how to organize in Minnesota, and we are here to do just that. We demand that ICE leaves immediately, and we demand for the abolition of ICE.
Thank you, Ava. Our next speaker is Kelly from AFSCME 2474.
My name is Kelly. I'm a physical therapist in the outpatient CSB building. As Minnesotans, we know what real ICE can do. It shuts down streets and puts lives at risk. But the most dangerous ICE in our state isn't on the roads. It's in our hospitals, and it does not belong here. Hospitals exist to heal, not to terrorize. ICE's presence at HCMC has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with fear and intimidation.
That's right.
That's right. It shatters trust, traumatizes families, and forces healthcare workers into moral crises no one should face. Medical professionals are sworn to care for patients, not to act as extensions of an enforcement agency built on cruelty and harm. When people fear arrest instead of care, they stop coming to hospitals. That endangers everyone. This fear doesn't stop at undocumented patients. It spreads to citizens, families, and the workers who keep our healthcare system alive. What's happening in Minnesota is national strategy that tears families apart and weakens public health. Immigrants are not outsiders. They are the backbone of Minnesota's workforce economy. They are our neighbors, our co-workers, our loved ones. All of our patients deserve dignity, safety, and health care. Full stop. Benefit healthcare is a safety net held together by workers carrying impossible loads in a broken system. Increasing ICE activity in our cities and inside our hospitals creates workplace conditions that are unsafe and unsustainable. Let's be absolutely clear. ICE does not belong in the hospitals. Federal resources should be used to heal communities, not to terrorize them.
That's right.
That's right. This is a line we must draw together. Protect your patients, protect your neighbors, protect each other. Stand up, stand united, and demand that ICE get the hell out of our hospital and our community.
All right, next up we have Santiago from our Minnesota Newspaper and Communications Guild. Santiago.
My name's Santiago. I'm a Spanish interpreter. I've been here at Hennepin for close to 30 years. You know, pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger.
You know, as interpreters, we work with words, and so the vocabulary word for today is impunity. So impunity means that you're able to be exempt from punishment or freedom from negative consequences for your actions, allowing wrongdoing to occur without penalty. And so ICE right now is profiling people based on their accent or on the color of their skin with impunity. They're committing acts of violence, aggression, and forced disappearance, and murdering our Minnesota neighbors with impunity. And now they're sitting in patient rooms in our hospital with impunity. Many of us came here to Minnesota to get away from these type of actions, pursuing what Victor Jara sang about, el derecho de vivir en paz, the right to live in peace. So we are here today, together, standing together to resist. To stand with our neighbors and our patients against impunity.
That's right.
And to stand for el derecho de vivir en paz. Say it with me. ICE out of HCMC. ICE out of HCMC. ICE out of Minnesota. ICE out of Minnesota. Free Nakima. Free Nakima. Justice for Renee Good. Justice for Renee Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Santiago. We have one more speaker today, Abhishek, also a resident doctor here.
Okay, you have been listening to doctors, physician assistants, nurses rallying at Hennepin County Medical Center right now, and we're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. We have much more coverage for you here on this cold weather, this day of shutting down the economy here locally. Businesses are closed, hundreds of them. Folks not shopping, not going to school, not working, all in the name of wanting ICE out of Minnesota. So we will be right back after this with much more coverage. All Day Live continues. And welcome back to All Day Live. We've been live in front of HCMC, downtown Minneapolis. This is a rally of healthcare workers who have come together. It's just sort of wrapping up right now. They are rallying outside, calling ICE's presence here a public health crisis and demanding that agents leave hospitals. Also part of a statewide day of action. And it sounds like it's just wrapping up. So, all right, we'll continue on with some other headlines now. We are going to talk a little bit about the weather. Is that where? Yes, right, Amber? Yeah, let's do this. First. We're going to pitch it to Jared Piepenberg, our meteorologist in-house today, because it is, overnight we experienced some of the coldest temperatures we've seen since pre-COVID, since 2019. And so we want to catch up on where we are now, kind of where we're headed for the next 24 hours. Just what you need to know to keep yourself safe and warm. Jared?
It's been a cold one here to kick off the day here as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. The good news is that the winds have been backing off, but when it's this cold, any bit of air movement out there just seems like it finds you. That biting cold, any exposed skin, it's kind of that wind is nipping at you. But the good news is that hefty breeze we had yesterday that was just kind of ushering the cold, that backed off. We had gusts into the 40s. Now winds are much lighter and will stay that way this afternoon. There's really nothing to show you on storm vision radar or just underneath high pressure right now. It's just a big blob of cold air, kind of just creating some clear sky conditions. Futurecast has a hard time sometimes when it's this cold. Tries to create some cloud cover on that. That's what you're seeing there. But otherwise, lighter winds out of the northwest. Overnight tonight, winds may go calm for the majority of us, which will be welcome because it's going to be another really cold night with the clear sky and this air mass sitting on top of us. We'll still dip down to some teens and 20s below across the state, but those wind chills won't really factor in like they were this morning, where we had the 40s and 50s below zero for the majority of us. Tomorrow it won't feel as, it's still going to be cold, don't get me wrong there, but it's not going to feel as cold since we really won't have much wind heading into your Saturday. And even throughout the day, just very light breezes out of the south for us, and even around the Twin Cities, it may only be around 5, maybe up to 10 miles per hour on the top end, but it's still going to be cold, so it plays a factor. It still makes it feel a little bit chillier out there. Today's high temperatures, impressive cold, dangerous cold, as frostbite can set in, maybe in 5 to 15 minutes. That the really cold, bitter cold conditions were earlier this morning, so we're seeing some improvement. So frostbite's maybe not as quickly as it was this morning, but still something to watch out for today for any plans you have out there. And if you're traveling, just make sure you let people know what's going on there and maybe have that winter survival kit just in case you have some issues. All right, today's high temperatures, mainly double digits, sub-zero for us. This 9 below may be hard to hit later on today, even in the metro. Overnight tonight, dipping down to a lot of 20s below, basically cut Minnesota in half. You got 20s below up north. That's a really cold start. Again, in the southern part of the state, we'll be in those teens below zero. Around the metro, thinking around 15 below, not out of the question for us. Tomorrow's high temperatures still looking to be sub-zero for the majority of the state. Up north, maybe approaching the double digit sub-zero, but it's just going to be another really cold one, but not a whole lot of wind. So that will be welcome across the area just for how cold it's going to be. Bright and cold Saturday. Just very, very frigid out there. Not as cold as today, but not far off. Lighter south winds will be welcome as we head into tomorrow or into Sunday's forecast. 5 for the high. So today we're sub-zero. Tomorrow we're sub-zero. And we probably won't climb up above the donut until lunchtime on Sunday. And just kind of light winds out of the north for most of us on Sunday. Late in the day for western parts of the state and northwestern Minnesota, a breeze eventually will pick up. So you're going to notice that, and then we'll make it feel colder in northwestern Minnesota. But a frigid next couple of days coming up here. Cold on Sunday with a high of 5. Cold mornings as well. Heading back into early next week. Monday, a high of 11. That's 20 degrees warmer than our high temperature forecast for today. But it's not much of a warm-up when our average high temperature is 23. 11 into Tuesday, and I still think we'll be hovering close to maybe some upper single digits for highs on Wednesday and Thursday. So the whole theme of this forecast is looking to stay chilly, if not bitter cold, especially this weekend.
All right, thank you, Jared. We'll keep in touch with Jared here over the course of the next hour and a half or so as we continue to follow this weather today. Also today, the other big story that we're following that's happening now and in the next few hours, it's being called a day of truth and freedom, a day of prayer and fasting, or maybe Ice Out Minnesota. And there are some calls to action today. Might affect your plans if you're going to be out and about. Hundreds of businesses we know across the metro are closing. There's a call to march and rally in downtown Minneapolis as well, protesting the immigration enforcement operations in Minnesota. Organizers, some of them are saying they're really hoping for an economic blackout here. They don't want people to shop, go to work, go to school. So the march itself is scheduled to start about 2 o'clock at the Commons Park in Minneapolis. And then the plan has been about a mile-long march through downtown, ending now, kind of changed in the last day or so, ending with a rally inside Target Center. Obviously, it is so cold outside. That rally is a ticketed event, and it's our understanding that there are no tickets left. If you do have tickets, if you are going, just know that it's the same Target Center rules as if you were going to any event there. No large bags, no strollers, no signs on sticks, anything like that. You may see protesters there as well, and you may see protesters in other places. We know that there's been some activity at the Whipple building, the federal building. We'll talk about that in a minute, but also out at the airport. And Amber is joining me now because we've gotten some more information, and we just wanted to show you what it looks like has been happening out there over the course of all morning, really, Amber, since about 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Around 10 a.m. this morning, there was a large protest and rally outside of MSP International. Just a big show as part of this day of action. And I just saw some video online posted by Faith in Minnesota, the organization that was running this protest this morning. So, Leo, if we could take producer.
And also,
PC.
just if you see the bottom of your screen, there's also saying that group, 100 Minnesota clergy, have been arrested in this. So go ahead.
Yes. So this is the same group reporting that 100 clergy members have been arrested, just sharing this video of the arrest this morning. They're saying that the clergy members were arrested by MSP Police and Facility and Bloomington Police. Kara did reach out to Bloomington Police for us, who is referring us back to Airport Police. So we've also reached out to them, of course, and we have not heard anything back yet at this time. But you can clearly see law enforcement officers out there lining up people who were at that protest and taking them away. So I want to kind of let people see for themselves what this looked like before the arrests began. So Leo, if we could play the video in C9 here. This was what it looked like when our photographer was out there. This was more towards the beginning of that protest and rally. Busy, but peaceful, right? There were concerns, of course, about this protest and rally kind of blocking up and congesting traffic at the airport and slowing down operations, which, of course, if you ask the protesters, is the point. So they're out here protesting ICE. Of course, they say that about 2,000 people have been deported through MSP since operations really began to kick up here across the Twin Cities, Amy.
Yeah, and also just to clarify too, when the group says that it was Bloomington PD and then MSP, we're not talking about Minneapolis PD, we're talking about the airport, I believe is what we're talking about, not MPD. Sometimes we say MSP is Minneapolis, but airport police, and then we're saying that it sounds like we've reached out and Bloomington PD is saying talk to the airport authorities about this, so we're kind of just waiting to hear on that as well. Okay, great, thank you for that update. And then also we know that, do you want to talk about the Whipple building?
Yeah, just really quick, want to touch on that before we squeeze in another break.
Let's do that. So we also know there was some activity there earlier.
This was the video from earlier today,
so this was, I don't remember exactly what time this was, Amber, but this was probably around
10:30.
Yeah, 10:30, 11, somewhere in there. And we know that at some time, we think before this, because when federal officials were speaking at 10 a.m., toward the end of their press conference, they were getting some information in real time about some disturbances outside of the Whipple building. He even was mentioning it. He was kind of play-by-playing it, and he said we will not tolerate that. And then we have this video. But we also heard from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office as well. And I don't want to paraphrase too much here. Do you have it in front of you? Okay.
Yep. So the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office tweeted at about noon today, saying that deputies and members of multiple assisting agencies have given dispersal orders for an unlawful protest at the Whipple building. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours and made several attempts to ask protesters to unblock an access road. The group was clear that they will not unblock the road. Deputies have explained what will happen if they do not comply with the lawful orders. We've given them time to move. They have been There have been ice chunks thrown at multiple vehicles, breaking windows. Deputies have given 3 dispersal orders for an unlawful protests. Individuals who do not comply with orders and those who continue unlawful behavior have been and will continue to be arrested. Please avoid the area. That was again posted around noon. I've been checking the account for any further updates, and at this time I'm not seeing anything, Amy.
Okay.
Our camera out there still not up at the protest line or where the protest line was earlier. So I don't have eyes on it at this moment, but yeah, you're hearing it here from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office that they are arresting people, arresting protesters for unlawful protests outside of Whipple.
Okay, and it's something to keep in mind too as folks maybe getting ready to march or rally today. I haven't heard word of really any sort of formal protest. Obviously there's the overarching theme here, but just kind of thinking about some of the things that are happening here where local law enforcement, now we're seeing in this case Hennepin County Sheriff's Office is overlapping and coming in to arrest protesters after, according to the Sheriff's Office, they gave warnings, and so we're starting to kind of see that overlap a little bit more now that we haven't really seen a whole lot of here between the federal authorities and the local authorities on the ground, unless it's sort of a more extreme situation where it's violent, like we've seen. The Minneapolis police chief has talked about those situations. So, okay, do we want to take another break here?
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good. We got a lot more headlines to get through here. We're covering a lot today, including, look at that, it just looks cold. I mean, I know it's Minnesota, it's end of January, this is what happens here, but it's still really, really cold. Look at this steam. Is that coming off water or what is that? I don't know. Hopefully that's a building. I don't know. It's really, really cold out there, you guys. Definitely be prepared. 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to get frostbite if you are not prepared. So stay with us. We'll have much more on All Day Live. And welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hawker. One of the other stories that we're following here is actually a national story with local implications. Murder suspect Luigi Mangione is in court today. You might remember a judge is weighing whether to allow key evidence in his federal case. That's the case that carries the death penalty. Mangione is accused of killing Minnesota-based United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Well, today the judge is hearing testimony about the procedures that police in Pennsylvania used when they seized and searched Mangione's backpack. You might remember Mangione arrested 5 days after Thompson's death in Pennsylvania at a McDonald's. Jury selection in his trial is expected to start in September. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to the federal charges and the state murder charges, which carry the possibility of life in prison. So we are keeping an eye on that. We're going to take one more quick break here. Be right back. All Day Live continues in 2 minutes.
Jigen.
Welcome back to All Day Live. Just after 1 o'clock here, we are here with you on this very, very, very cold Friday. Hope you're staying safe and warm. Meteorologist Jared Piepenberg has what we need to know here for the next day or 2, 3. Jared?
It has been cold out here this morning. I saw some feels like temperatures. Those wind chills dipped down to some 50s below, and off screen when I was forecasting earlier this morning, we had some places along the North Shore that were actually dipping down to the 60s below zero. We're not that cold at the moment, but it is a cold one out there. High pressure and control over weather, what that is just a big pool of really cold air. And those future casts feels like temperatures here as we head throughout the afternoon will likely hover in the 20s to 30s below at the warmest part of our day. Heading out to dinner this evening, I have this pause at 7:30, about the same, mid-20s to some 30s below zero into your Friday evening, all around a very, very bitter, frigid, cold day. Tonight, really no fluctuation that most of us are going to wake up to some lighter winds, still cold out there with those feels like temperatures in the 20s below zero, some 30s below. Now, as we head throughout the day tomorrow, not as much wind in the forecast, so our feels like temperatures won't be quite as frigid. It's still going to be a really cold day with a feeling sub-zero all day long, but not like we've had today or this morning. And then we'll have some improvement, not a whole lot, but some on Sunday for some of us. But notice that the feels like temperatures are dropping to northwestern Minnesota as a little breeze picks up late in the weekend over western and northwestern Minnesota. Today, though, 9 below for high temperature, feeling like 25 below at probably the warmest part of the day, if you can call it that. Northwest winds have been backing off, so that is welcome here. And this weekend really won't feature a whole lot of wind, as high pressure will be sitting right on top of us, bringing the sunny sky conditions like we have. 1 below for a high tomorrow. We really won't climb up above zero until about midday on Sunday. Sunday, high temperature of 5. Some really cold mornings here, the next 3 to go. Monday, Tuesday, wow, this is 20 degrees warmer than what we will have for high temperature today, going from 9 below to 11 above. That's really not much of a warm up there. It's still going to be chilly almost all of next week's work week, it looks like. So the theme of this whole forecast is going to be cold weather. Next week, kind of hovering close to 10 above, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
All right, Jared, thank you. Today, the 23rd of January, about 10 days ago, this was put out there. So you may have been hearing about this for a while. And it's been called a couple different things by different groups, but a day of truth and freedom, day of prayer and fasting by some faith leaders, or, simply Ice Out Minnesota. But what we're seeing is a community-wide effort across businesses and others who are taking a stand, they say, against ICE's presence here in Minnesota and hoping to create an impact here. Rob Olson is following this for us. He is downtown Minneapolis, where kind of the heart of this is going to be taking place. Rob, what do we expect this afternoon?
Well, this is going to begin here at the Commons in front of U.S. Bank Stadium with a rally. Originally, this was planned to be a rally and a march that would then come back to the Commons here before the rally. But now it is going to be kind of a beginning here, and then a march through downtown Target Center, where the rally will be indoors for obvious reasons. Very cold outside. But down here now, an hour before this is set to begin, we've already seen a pretty considerable turnout here of folks already gathering that are dressed for the weather, certainly in all the cold weather gear that they can find to withstand the temperatures out here for what is this Ice Out rally in Minnesota. This was, as you mentioned, announced 10 days ago by faith leaders, joined by some union groups and community groups here to demand an end to the Operation Metro Surge here in Minnesota. Along with this, kind of an encouragement to kind of have an economic shutdown as well. We've seen lists of hundreds of businesses in the Twin Cities area that say they will be closed today. Dozens more, if not more than that, that will be open, but say they'll be donating part or all of their proceeds today to various groups, whether it be, immigration rights groups or legal groups or food banks and food shelves throughout this. So this is what's happening now, an hour beforehand. So some pretty hardy folks out here that are making their voices heard despite these negative temperatures.
Yeah, and Rob, the Target Center piece of this was obviously added in, as you said, because of the cold weather. What do people need to know if they're headed down there? Tickets. It's our understanding. I thought it looked like there weren't any left, but if you have a ticket, if you're planning to go, what do they need to know?
Yeah, it is a ticketed event. So, and that is, I saw some concerns raised online in some groups online, wondering, okay, why is that? Are they collecting data? How will that be shared? And the explanation is, of course, it's, there's a capacity. So they don't want more people showing up that can fit inside. Certainly not on a day like this. They need to know what to expect. Just like any other event that would be held at Target Center. Concerns, that were raised too about there's some folks that have expressed some, reservations or criticisms of Target Corporation, feeling that they should be making as a major corporate, presence here, that they should be making a stand on this. And the moderators and other folks pointing out that Target Center is not owned by Target. It's owned by the city. Target has the naming rights, just like U.S. Bank or Huntington Bank or now Grand Casino have naming rights of arenas. They don't own the building, so that there's no connection other than that there. So we'll see. Again, we expect what we're seeing here is a pretty significant crowd forming already an hour before this is set to take off in a march, and expect a pretty big crowd at Target Center as well.
And no signs allowed in, no large bags. It's, again, the same rules as be aware.
Yeah. For the same thing that applies to any event inside in terms of security, whether it's a game or concert, etc. So
okay, Rob.
Plenty of signs out here though already, and people setting up loudspeakers too.
Okay, we'll check back in with you. Oh, stay warm, stay so warm, and you know, try to look out for other people who look like they're not staying warm and make
it
sure.
Hurts,
and,
it hurts the skin for sure.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll check in with you here in just a little bit. We've just been following a couple of different storylines that have been happening here this morning into our show in the noon hour, and one of them has been out at the airport. So I think, Amber, if you want to, can you jump back in here and we can kind of tag team this a little bit, because a couple of different things have been happening at the airport, outside of the airport, MSP, and then also at the Federal Whipple building.
Yeah.
So starting with the airport, what do we know?
So I just heard from the Metropolitan Airports Commission, which runs at MSP. They are confirming that there were arrests at a protest this morning, and quite a large protest. Hannah, if we could take producer PC here. This is some video of those arrests happening outside Terminal 1 this morning. This video is shared to us on Facebook by Faith in Minnesota, who were organizing this protest. This is all part of that day of action, Amy. The group telling us that as many as 100 Minnesota clergy members were arrested this morning while they were out there protesting. I kind of want to show you what it looked like earlier before the arrest began. So if we can take this VO, this is what it looked like when our photojournalist was out there. So again, we're told that 100 clergy members were arrested. We're being told this by the clergy members. Hearing from the airport, they're confirming arrests, but not confirming how many. This is a statement we just got from the airport commission. They said that they worked in advance with event organizers to best accommodate their right to freedom of expression while also ensuring uninterrupted operations at MSP Airport. The approved demonstration permit set a dedicated location and maximum number of participants to maintain the safety of protesters, passengers, and airport employees. The statement from the airport goes on to say, when the permitted activity went beyond the agreed upon terms, MSP Airport Police began taking necessary action, including arrests, to protect public safety, airport security, and access to Terminal 1. So as you can see, it was quite busy out there. I'm assuming the catalyst for the arrests was probably the crowd size, Amy. It was really, really busy pretty much all morning long. The airport, as we can tell in this statement, knew about this protest. There was a permit to some degree about, what the parameters around it could be. And airlines like Delta had even reached out to passengers saying, hey, it's going to be messy out here while this protest is happening. Please come as early, 3 hours at least early before your flight to make sure you have enough time. Maybe take public transportation in case, as you can see, the drop-off area is busy. So again, we're hearing as many as 100 clergy members being arrested. The airport confirming some arrests did happen. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more information on that soon. Yeah,
and specifically these groups, the group that was there today was really talking to primarily Delta, which of course is a major hub at MSP, and then also Signature Aviation, which provides, they say, logistical support for ICE operations. I think the number that they had put in their release today, according to them, was like 2,000 deportations, something like that, out of MSP. So that's specifically what they were doing there today. And then obviously we don't have access to the permit or the parameters around that permit, but it sounds like that, obviously, according to MSP, the airport folks, that's what precipitated it. And then we saw people who were kneeling, who were being arrested. So yeah, we'll try to, here's that video again. We'll try to get through some more of this as well. And, we just don't, you can see what you can see here. We just don't have a lot of other sort of information. We can't hear what's being said, anything like that. So, but this is the latest. And the clergy members also said that Bloomington police were involved in this in some capacity, but we did reach out to Bloomington police. They referred us to the airport police, who didn't mention anything about Bloomington police's role in this. So the exact, how the response played out here, not
entirely clear on that at this point. But again, we'll probably learn some more details here in the coming hours.
All right, so about the same time that was happening, we also know that at the Whipple Federal Building, which is actually not too far away, it's kind of by Fort Snelling off of 62. That's the federal building. That's kind of been the that's been ground zero for a lot of the consistent protesting that's been happening. That's where the ICE agents reportedly get their information, and then they're disseminated and they're sent out to the community from that location. And so we've seen a lot of protests there. Some have gotten, we've seen scuffles, we've seen arrests there before. When we were watching a press conference, which I think we're going to play part of that for you here in a little bit, with federal officials who were giving kind of a morning update this morning, while the top ICE official who was there was speaking, you could kind of see him going like this off to the side, and he was getting information in real time, and this was at about 10:20 or so. And then he started repeating what he was hearing, which is there's something happening outside the Whipple Federal Building. It sounds like there are protesters out there with, I think he said, shields, and just know that, you know, we're not going to allow them to obstruct, or something along those lines. So you went and found a shot.
I found a live shot around 10:30 at this point. And Hannah, we can play this video. So this is from about 10:30 this morning, and it corroborates what we were hearing at the federal presser here. So protesters out there outside of Whipple with makeshift barriers, if you will. Looks like sheet metal, plastic barrels being used as shields, some plywood. Like you said, we've seen clashes before. When I was watching this feed for a couple hours this morning, I did not see any major scuffle come up, but the shot did go down at times. You know, I wasn't able to watch it for a solid 2 hours, which leads us to about noon when we heard from the Hennepin County Sheriff, who said that they ordered protesters to disperse. Do you have that statement?
Yep, I do. So this is from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office at about noon. Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies and members of multiple assisting agencies have given dispersal orders for an unlawful protest at the Whipple Building. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours and made several attempts to ask protesters to unblock an access road. So, you know, presumably that's what we were looking at right there, that access road. The group was clear that they will not unblock the road. Deputies have explained what will happen if they do not comply with the lawful orders. We've given them time to move. There have been ice chunks thrown at multiple vehicles, breaking windows. Deputies have given 3 dispersal orders for an unlawful protest. Individuals who do not comply with orders and those who continue unlawful behavior have been and will continue to be arrested. Please avoid the area. And that's the last information that we have from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. Yep, exactly about noon. So that's what we know.
What I think here is also significant is this is the first time that I'm seeing the Hennepin County Sheriff say that they are doing arrests outside of Whipple. I've seen federal agents arresting people outside of Whipple when the protests have gotten to a bit of a flashpoint. We've seen protesters throwing items at agents outside of that entry point before. It was earlier this week, late last week, when they put out a note saying, stop pouring water on the road to create ice and, you know, presumably try to cause federal agents to slip and fall. So this isn't the first time that we've seen or heard of something like this happening, but I don't recall the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office being out there and detaining protesters.
Yeah, I don't either specifically. And you know, it's a good point, because there are, depending upon where you live, which county you live in, which city, you know, is your jurisdiction, those departments are going to have different varying interactions or crossover with some of these federal operations. You know, federal immigration operations are to be operated by the federal authorities. There are these instances, though, where we know, maybe not so much in Minneapolis, where the Mayor Jacob Frey has said, you know, he wants to sort of draw circles around areas even where no ICE zones, that kind of thing. In other areas, though, we have seen some level of cooperation, meaning if an ICE agent were to get injured by one of these ice chunks or something, that the local authorities would come in to help out. And in this case, clearly Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies were there and were assisting and given these dispersal orders. So we'll see if we have more information there on any arrests, things like that, coming up a little bit later this afternoon.
All right, as you mentioned, Amy, we did hear from ICE earlier this morning, including Gregory Bovino, as well as another ICE associate.
Yeah, he's
director.
like a top ICE official who's here on the ground for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Yeah, do we have that?
We do,
clip?
yes.
Okay, can we play some of that? So this is them kind of giving an update this morning on the last 24 hours, some of the arrests that they made, and then also giving updates on the church, the folks who were arrested in the church incident on Sunday, where there were protests inside that St. Paul church. And then a lot of people are following the story of the 5-year-old boy and his father, who were also detained, wondering where are they now. So he addressed some of that. Let's listen to that.
When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center.
All right, in addition to that story, which we are continuing to follow, we're also learning about a 2-year-old girl in ICE custody. And this is according to some court filings that our Paul Bloom has been going through that say that she was detained by ICE on Thursday along with her father following a traffic stop. So attorneys this morning filed for an emergency release of the father and daughter, citing asylum claims and warrantless arrest. The judge now has ordered, looks like according to this paperwork, has ordered that toddler to be released by 9:30 tonight. And the family's attorney has been given that parental authority to pick her up and return the toddler to her mother. Again, Paul Bloom following this for us. Don't have any comments yet from the federal officials, but we'll continue to let you know if we get any more updates or if there are any more developments in that case as well. And then just really quickly, we were just talking about what some of the local law enforcement agencies are doing and not doing when it relates to some of the ICE activity. And Karen Scullin just texted and said she reached out to actually Hennepin County Sheriff's Office about this yesterday, specifically asking them about what level of collaboration. And the statement was the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office has been clear that we will always respond to calls for help from anyone. And that's from their communications folks at Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. All right, let's take a quick break. Come on back. We got a lot more to come here on All Day Live. We got to talk about Hockey Day Minnesota because it's still happening. It's still going on. And yeah, it's outside. What are their plans to keep people safe and warm? And then toward the end of the show, we had to talk about these Timberwolves. Poof. Yeah, we gotta talk. There's a lot to talk about here. Don't panic though, right? Don't panic. It's gonna be fine. That and more coming up here on All Day Live. We're glad you're with us.
Minneapolis-St today.
Welcome back to All Day Live. Happy Friday to you. Lots of businesses and schools are shutting down. Of course, we have the Day of Action that's happening where we have hundreds of businesses shutting down, but also the cold weather is really, we're in the thick of it here. Schools closed. Some folks are working from home today. But in true Minnesota fashion, Hockey Day Minnesota is going on. It's happening. Minnesota Wild Manager of Hockey Partnerships, Gabby Billings, is a key organizer of the event. She joins us now live from on site. Hi, Gabby. How are things going out there as you prep for what's going to be a very cold weekend of events?
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me on today. It's definitely a bit chilly out here, but we have plenty of warm spaces, event tents, live bands, all kinds of stuff where people can go inside and warm up for a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk through that. So I want to get to some of the calendar of events, the games and things like that in a minute. But first, let's really dig into if people are weighing, oh, I don't know, is it going to be, tell us specifically kind of what you have, how far out are they spaced? How big is this space where everything is happening? What can they expect?
Yeah, I can show you one of the tents I'm in right now, actually. There's plenty of space in here. Lots of people around, good food, good drinks, all kinds of good stuff going on out here. And there are other tents like this, like I said, with live bands and drinks and food and plenty of spaces to keep people warm.
Okay, so and then is it one rink? Are there multiple rinks and they're kind of close so you can come in and out pretty easily?
There's just one main rink at United Heroes League in Hastings, Minnesota, and that's where all the games are being played. There's plenty of bleachers for people to watch outside, and then some spaces inside with monitors as well.
Okay, I imagine as you're looking at the forecast, as we're getting closer to this, I mean, what were some of the conversations like for you guys? At any point did you think we really might have to call this?
We definitely had a lot of weather conversations, but people here in the state of hockey are dedicated and they'll do anything to watch some hockey. So we wanted to make sure that everyone would be safe. But like I said, we have all those indoor spaces with heated tents that people can take a break. And we wanted to ensure that everyone knew about that as well, that they won't be outside the whole time. And these frigid temps are only getting better. So fingers crossed that they keep rising here throughout the day and tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is kind of moving in the right direction. Still really, really cold, but it is not getting colder, I guess, is the good news. Any word on, what you think turnout might be like over the weekend?
We've heard that there's been about 3,500 tickets sold for this Iowa Wild game this afternoon, and then about another 3,500 for tomorrow. So Fingers crossed, all of those people are still going to come out, and hopefully more than that. But we're expecting a good crowd.
Tell us a little bit about, Hockey Day Minnesota. It sounds obvious, but tell us, what's the goal behind this event? Why is this such an important event?
This is our 20th anniversary of Hockey Day Minnesota, and it's just a day surrounded around celebrating really good hockey, whether that's high school or the first professional game being played outside at Hockey Day Minnesota this year. It's all about celebrating that we're the state of hockey and we're always creating a greater state of hockey.
Okay, so let's run through the games. Are tickets still available? I mean, if folks do want to go out, can they still get tickets?
Absolutely.
Okay.
People can purchase tickets at hockeydaymn.com.
And let's run through the schedule. So we have tonight, this kind of headliner game. Tell us about what we need to know with the Iowa Wild Milwaukee Admirals, right?
You got it. The Iowa Wild is going to be playing the Milwaukee Admirals. It's an AHL game, American Hockey League game. And like I mentioned, this is the first time that we've ever had a professional hockey game played outside on Hockey Day Minnesota. Wow. So it's going to be really special. Hopefully, like I said, a lot of fans come out and check it out.
Okay. And then tomorrow, there are quite a few things going on tomorrow as well, right?
Tomorrow we'll highlight the Hastings girls and boys varsity programs. They'll both be playing out here and it'll be really special to see them as well.
Awesome. I wish you guys all the luck in the world getting, through this weekend. I'm sure it was a stressful, week leading up to this, wondering if it could happen or would happen. And it looks like you have a pretty good setup there for folks to come inside, get some food, warm up, really close to the rink. So hopefully everybody just, it just kind of is smart about what they're wearing and how they're feeling and taking care of themselves. Thanks so much, Gabby, for checking in with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, take care. Stay warm. Bye. All right, let's take a break. And before we take a break, we are going to check that weather one more time. You can't check it enough. Meteorologist Jared Piepenberg is keeping us up to speed on what we need to know about just how we're in the thick of it, how cold it is, and what we need to expect this weekend. Jared?
It's been a cold one here to kick off the day here as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. The good news is that the winds have been backing off, but when it's this cold, any bit of air movement out there just seems like it finds you. That biting cold, any exposed skin, it's kind of that wind is nipping at you. But the good news is that hefty breeze we had yesterday that was just kind of ushering the cold, that backed off. We had gusts into the 40s. Now winds are much lighter and will stay that way this afternoon. There's really nothing to show you on storm vision radar or just underneath high pressure right now. It's just a big blob of cold air, kind of just creating some clear sky conditions. Futurecast has a hard time sometimes when it's this cold. Tries to create some cloud cover on that. That's what you're seeing there. But otherwise, lighter winds out of the northwest. Overnight tonight, winds may go calm for the majority of us, which will be welcome because it's going to be another really cold night with the clear sky and this air mass sitting on top of us. We'll still dip down to some teens and 20s below across the state, but those wind chills won't really factor in like they were this morning, where we had the 40s and 50s below zero for the majority of us. Tomorrow it won't feel as, it's still going to be cold, don't get me wrong there, but it's not going to feel as cold since we really won't have much wind heading into your Saturday. And even throughout the day, just very light breezes out of the south for us, and even around the Twin Cities, it may only be around 5, maybe up to 10 miles per hour on the top end, but it's still going to be cold, so it plays a factor. It still makes it feel a little bit chillier out there. Today's high temperatures, impressive cold, dangerous cold, as frostbite can set in, maybe in 5 to 15 minutes. That the really cold, bitter cold conditions were earlier this morning, so we're seeing some improvement. So frostbite's maybe not as quickly as it was this morning, but still something to watch out for today for any plans you have out there. And if you're traveling, just make sure you let people know what's going on there and maybe have that winter survival kit just in case you have some issues. All right, today's high temperatures, mainly double digits, sub-zero for us. This 9 below may be hard to hit later on today, even in the metro. Overnight tonight, dipping down to a lot of 20s below, basically cut Minnesota in half. You got 20s below up north. That's a really cold start. Again, in the southern part of the state, we'll be in those teens below zero. Around the metro, thinking around 15 below, not out of the question for us. Tomorrow's high temperatures still looking to be sub-zero for the majority of the state. Up north, maybe approaching the double digit sub-zero, but it's just going to be another really cold one, but not a whole lot of wind. So that will be welcome across the area just for how cold it's going to be. Bright and cold Saturday. Just very, very frigid out there. Not as cold as today, but not far off. Lighter south winds will be welcome as we head into tomorrow or into Sunday's forecast. 5 for the high. So today we're sub-zero. Tomorrow we're sub-zero. And we probably won't climb up above the donut until lunchtime on Sunday. And just kind of light winds out of the north for most of us on Sunday. Late in the day for western parts of the state and northwestern Minnesota, a breeze eventually will pick up. So you're going to notice that, and then we'll make it feel colder in northwestern Minnesota. But a frigid next couple of days coming up here. Cold on Sunday with a high of 5. Cold mornings as well. Heading back into early next week. Monday a high of 11. That's 20 degrees warmer than our high temperature forecast for today. But it's not much of a warm up when our average high temperature is 23. 11 into Tuesday, and I still think we'll be hovering close to maybe some upper single digits for highs on Wednesday and Thursday. So the whole theme of this forecast is looking to stay chilly, if not bitter cold, especially this weekend.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to All Day Live. 1:36 is our time here as we push through a couple of hours of coverage of what's going on here in the Twin Cities area and greater Minnesota, also around the country. We've been really focused on a few things here. Obviously, the weather is one of them. We continue to watch that. But also right now, as part of this bigger day, a day of action here in the Twin Cities, there's a group of Minneapolis and St. Paul educators who are holding a demonstration. Basically, they say they wanted to show how empty their classrooms are as students, they say, are hiding or are taken by ICE agents. So they're gathering in the Minneapolis City Hall rotunda right now. Do we have that shot available? There we go. So let's just listen in for just a moment. I don't know if anybody's speaking, but hang on one second.
Let's take another deep breath, everybody. This is hard, and we can do hard things together, in community, with each other, okay? And one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about what we need to happen here in Minneapolis. We're gonna talk about demandas, right? What do we need to happen so that we can have safe schools again? What do we need? We need ICE out. Yeah, we need ICE out of Minneapolis. What else do we need? Any other ideas?
We need justice.
We need justice. Justicia.
We need to be able to pay our rent.
Yeah. We need to pay rent. We need a moratorium on evictions. It's cold. Anyone that's in Minnesota today knows it's cold. And we need people to keep their housing. Anything else?
We need our friends and classmates to be able to get to school safely.
Yep. Yes, we need to safely move around our city. Right now it's not safe, and a lot of people aren't coming to school. And students have a right to an education, all of our students. And our staff need to safely get to school. Many of our teachers right now don't feel safe getting to our school buildings. If you're brown and black in the city, it is not safe to move around right now.
We need mental health supports for our students.
Yeah. We need mental health supports. This is traumatic. This has been traumatic. We have been under ICE occupation for 7 weeks. We have witnessed our neighbors, our friends, our family being pulled out of their cars, being beaten. Some of us have witnessed murder. Our students are seeing this. Our children are seeing this. Anyone who lives in the city right now is seeing this, and this trauma will live in our bodies. And we need support to get through this.
Okay, so what we have been bringing you here is from the Rotunda in Minneapolis. These are educators, about 60 of them from Minneapolis and St. Paul, holding what they're calling a classroom teach-in. They have desks. You see a whiteboard there. It's in the Rotunda of Minneapolis City Hall, sharing some experiences there with each other. So that is one of the live events that we were following. There are several today. I wanted to go through some of the headlines because a lot has happened in the last couple of hours. And I want to start with this, which is the bigger picture of what's being called Day of Truth and Freedom. Some are calling it a day of prayer and fasting, or maybe Ice Out Minnesota, but they are all calls for action today. And even if you're participating or not, they may affect your plans, because we understand that there are hundreds of businesses community-wide, Minneapolis-St. Paul, suburbs, and other parts of Minnesota that are going dark today, shutting down today as part of this bigger movement. So there's going to be a march starting at about 2 o'clock. They are planning on meeting at the Commons Park in Minneapolis and then marching there through downtown Minneapolis. It's about a mile or so to Target Center. It was moved, the end of this was moved to Target Center clearly because of the really cold weather. When we just checked in with our Rob Olson about 40 minutes ago or so, he was at Commons Park, and already there were people starting to show up, some with signs, bullhorns, things like that. So already people showing up. And then when they get to Target Center, there is a ticketed event. It's free, but it is ticketed. You do have to have a ticket to get in, and it's our understanding there are no more tickets available. But you would arrive at Target Center, and then there was a planned rally there, and the same rules apply. No strollers, no large no signs, no large bags, things like that. So just be aware if you're headed there. But again, the goal here, by what we've heard from some, is sort of an economic blackout. They don't want people to shop today, go to work, go to school, and this is again in protest of ICE's presence here in Minnesota. So that is happening. And then along with that, we've had a couple of other developments here in the course of the last several hours, and one of them was out at MSP at the airport. There is a group that was out there today, and it might have been a couple of different groups, but we were told that there were a group of clergy members and community members who were going to be out there today, peacefully protesting. This is video, we're kind of jumping ahead here. This is video of what the group says are some arrests. And so we know that, let me just say this, the report from this group is that there were 100 Minnesota clergy that were arrested at that airport protest. We have not confirmed that yet with any law enforcement. We understand, according to Bloomington police, that it looks like it was the MSP, the airport police, who was doing those arrests, and that is also what is corroborated by by those protesters who were there as well. So that group gathering outside the airport, denouncing the ICE surge. This was about, I don't know exactly, at least an hour or more prior to when the arrest started happening. This is our photojournalist who was out there at about 10 o'clock, just after 10 o'clock, and you can see those members. Now, we do have a little bit more information from the airport itself. What they are telling us is, this is a statement from them. The Metropolitan Airports Commission, they say, worked in advance with event coordinators. One second here, I need to get out of this and get back in it so that I can read this properly here. Hold on, hold with me here. Okay, the Metropolitan Airports Commission worked in advance with event organizers to best accommodate their right to freedom of expression while also ensuring uninterrupted operations at MSP Airport. The approved demonstration permit set a dedicated location and maximum number of participants to maintain the safety of protesters, passengers, and airport employees. When the permitted activity went beyond the agreed upon terms, MSP Airport Police began taking necessary action, including arrests to protect public safety, airport security, and access to Terminal 1. So that statement coming in from the airport. And that's the latest that we have there. We'll continue to try to get more information for you. At about the same time that was happening, we also were hearing about some things that were happening outside of the federal building, the Whipple building in Minneapolis, kind of near the airport out by Fort Snelling. And as many of you know, it's been ground zero for more consistent protests, ICE protests, over the course of the last 2-3 weeks now, because that is the place where reportedly the ICE agents receive their orders for the day and go out and execute those into the community. So what I can tell you is that I was watching a live feed of some federal officials, including Greg Bovino, who is kind of the face of these ICE operations here on the ground. And during this press conference, which started at 10 o'clock, you could see the federal officials kind of going off to the side and getting some information and then relaying it through the microphone in real time, and what they were saying is it's our understanding that there's something happening outside the Whipple building right now. There's some folks who are obstructing our ability to do our jobs, he said, and that this will not stand. So then Amber pulled up the a live camera that was out there. A short time later, we weren't able to get it immediately. Don't know how much longer after it was, but we did get some video, and I don't know, guys, if we have this video that we can show, but this is the protesters who were lined up right here, and they were holding these barriers. And we haven't seen a lot of this. We've seen protesters kind of face to face with the ICE agents, but they are standing there with these barriers, some barrels, some other, sheets of metal, things like that. And so we have a statement from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office that I think gives us a little bit more information from the local law enforcement side here. Let me grab that. Hang with me here while I go through a bunch of different papers here to get what I need. So the statement from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. Hang on here. Here we go. Okay, Hennepin, this was about noon when Hennepin County Sheriff tweeted this out. Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies and members of multiple assisting agencies have given dispersal orders for an unlawful protest at the Whipple building. Deputies have been on the ground for the last few hours, made several attempts to ask protesters to unblock an access road. The group was clear that they will not unblock the road. Deputies have explained what will happen if they do not comply with the lawful orders. We've given them time to move. There have been ice chunks thrown at multiple vehicles, breaking windows. Deputies have given 3 dispersal orders for an unlawful protest. Individuals who do not comply with orders and those who continue unlawful behavior have been and will continue to be arrested. Please avoid the area. Guys, do we have a live look at Whipple right now still? I know we don't. Okay, we did have a live look just a short time ago. So I'm wondering, when you, Hannah and Kara, you can just tell me, you don't need to come on, but I'm wondering, did you see, were there protesters back out there recently when we had that shot up? You couldn't really see anything. Okay, all right, sounds good. So that's the latest that we have. That came out about noon, about what was happening outside of the Whipple building as well. Those were the 2 activities that we've seen here in the last 2 to 3 hours or so. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the Timberwolves with Andrew Dukowitz, and then also I believe we'll have some time here, hopefully, to hear from a local faith leader to talk about some of the things that they're doing on the ground to support all kinds of different communities and people across many different faiths. So stay with us. All Day Live continues. Welcome back to All Day Live. Let's get right to it. Let's talk a little sports before we let you go here at the end of All Day Live. Andrew Dukowitz joins us now, covers the Timberwolves and the Lynx, Gopher women's basketball for Zone Coverage MN. And then I'm going to let you just say it from now on because I always get it wrong, but the podcast after the
post-game live stream podcast thing, missing links for Lynx, missing wolves for wolves, and thanks for having me on. It is a heavy day in Minneapolis, a cold day, but hopefully this will give people a 7-minute distraction.
Let's do it. So I guess the big question is, what in the world, what's going on? I had Kara write this on the bottom of the screen, but there's a question mark on it for a reason, Andrew. Timberwolves free fall?
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at it on paper, certainly 4 games lost in a row, the last 2 against a Utah Jazz team that is going to probably not be looking to win a lot of games the rest of the year, and a Bulls team that is kind of fighting for a spot in the Eastern playoffs. But last night they have a 4-point lead with 70-something seconds to go, and they end up losing by 5. So it certainly looks like it could be a free fall. What I will say is this Wolves team has kind of been just afflicted with these issues over the last 3 or 4 years, where the games that you think are going to be easy and they should win, they really struggle with. There's a lot of issues like with discipline and kind of staying engaged with the game plan. And they play Golden State on Saturday, and knowing this Wolves team, they'll probably win by 30, and all of our questions will be answered. But it certainly is something that's concerning, that they just can't seem to put these lesser teams in the standing away.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic this year. We have people like Julius Randle, who's just stalwart. He's just steady, and he's just contributing at a steady level. And then Ant, who obviously, phenomenal talent, but when Ant's not on the way we maybe need him to be on, it's tough. And how about the bench too? I mean, what are you seeing as kind of like the thing that needs to be addressed right now?
Yeah, the bench is the Achilles heel. Naz Reid has been great. I think he's still the Vegas front runner for sixth man of the year again. But outside of Naz Reid, they don't have really anything. They came in this year with multiple options. Can TJ Shannon take a step and be the Nikhil replacement? That hasn't gone very well. Can Rob Dillingham take Mike Conley's job and be the point guard of the future? That also has not worked out. Bones Hyland had some flashes, but has kind of come back down to earth a little bit. And there's the reality that Mike Conley is a 38-year-old man playing in the NBA still. He just doesn't have the same juice that he had a year or 2 years ago even. And that has left this team with really only 6 guys that they can count on a night-to-night basis. So the trade deadline is about 10 days away. I would assume that they are going to try and bolster that bench so they at least get a 7th guy that they feel confident in. But everyone so far, even Jalen Clark, who has shown some good flashes too, has been a little bit underperforming what I think the Wolves had hoped they would be.
Yeah, and like you said, it's kind of up and down with some of these guys with Bones too. But they're younger, they're young, and the future looks really, really bright for them with Joanne Berenger and some of the others too who are getting some more time. Okay, Golden State, and it's back-to-back, I think, with Golden State. So what are we looking at right here, real quick? Got just a couple minutes left. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I fully expect this Wolves team to go out and win both of them. Steph Curry is playing. That's a big motivator for, Ant, Julius, a lot of guys on this team to go out there and kind of play well when Steph is in the building. It's just a weird Wolves team. You just kind of get this feeling that when the lights are on them, when everyone's watching, they're going to come and perform really well. And so far they've proven that that's the case. I don't know why when the lights go out, it seems to have these stumbles, but I do expect them to go out and kind of right the ship. The vibe after the game yesterday was obviously, they're not happy they lost, but they're confident they're going to figure it out and make things right by the playoffs, which until they don't, I guess we kind of have to take them at their word.
Yeah, definitely. Just about 1 minute left here, but also it's my understanding that the cohesion, the sort of brotherhood that's happening, you know, in the locker room is just at an all-time high as well. Are you sensing that?
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert is rapping off the top of his head about Bones Highland. Ant is the class clown. Nas and Jaden are brothers. Julius is blended in really well. You have like the old guys of Joe and Mike that keep everyone stable. Like, this locker room does seem like a really connected group that really likes each other and enjoys being around each other, which makes sense. They played all last year with each other too. It's just kind of like they had to do last year. They almost have to put themselves up against a wall before they really figure out how to move forward. So I'm kind of thinking that's the same trend this year.
Yeah, definitely. You know, your heart kind of up and down with these games, but we'll see what happens. Golden State, you're calling it. Wolves win both. I hope you're right. Andrew, thanks for joining us on this very cold Friday. I'm glad you have a beanie on. Good job, young man. And we'll see you. We'll see you soon. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be watching the games, and we'll be cheering for him. All right, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. We so appreciate it. We're going to continue our coverage throughout the day as these events are unfolding. 2 o'clock is a scheduled start time for the gathering at the Commons Park in Minneapolis, march to Target Center, and then rally, which is a ticketed event, which I think is sold out at this point. It's free, but so just be aware of that. And lots of businesses closed as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here on Monday.